Emily Carter tightened her grip on the steering wheel as she pulled into the parking lot outside a quiet cafe in downtown Chicago. The evening sky had turned a soft shade of orange, and the city lights were beginning to flicker on. She glanced into the rearview mirror and smiled faintly. Her 3-year-old daughter, Lily, was fast asleep in her car seat, hugging a worn stuffed bunny against her chest. Emily sighed with relief. After a long day at work and an even longer afternoon at daycare, Lily had finally drifted off. For a moment, Emily considered turning the car around and driving home. Agreeing to a blind date had seemed like a good idea, when her best friend insisted she deserved another chance at happiness. Now sitting outside the cafe with her sleeping daughter, it felt like a terrible mistake. What kind of man wanted to meet a woman who arrived with a child? She imagined awkward smiles, polite excuses, and a quick goodbye before the drinks even arrived. Her phone buzzed with a message from her friend. "You've got this, just be yourself." Emily smiled despite her nerves. She brushed a loose strand of brown hair behind her ear, unbuckled Lily from the car seat as carefully as possible, and lifted the little girl into her arms. Lily barely moved, resting her head on Emily's shoulder while clutching the bunny tightly. The cafe looked warm and inviting. Through the large front windows, couples laughed over coffee, friends chatted in quiet corners, and soft jazz music drifted through the open door. Emily took a deep breath before stepping inside. A hostess greeted her with a friendly smile. "Can I help you? I'm meeting someone." Emily answered softly, careful not to wake Lily. "Daniel Brooks." The hostess nodded and pointed toward a table near the window. Daniel stood as soon as he saw her approaching. He looked taller than Emily had expected, dressed casually in a navy sweater and dark jeans. His expression showed surprise for only a brief second when he noticed the sleeping child in Emily's arms, but it quickly disappeared behind a warm smile. "You must be Emily," he said quietly, lowering his voice without being asked. "It's nice to meet you. I'm so sorry." Emily whispered, "My babysitter canceled at the last minute." "I almost canceled too. But my friend convinced me to come?" "If this is too much, I completely understand." Daniel shook his head immediately. "Not at all," he replied. "She looks exhausted." Emily laughed softly. "She had a busy day pretending to be a superhero." Daniel chuckled. "Sounds like an important job." He gently pulled out a chair so Emily could sit without disturbing Lily. Then he caught the attention of a passing waiter. "Would you mind turning the music down just a little?" Daniel asked politely. "I'd hate for the little one to wake up." The waiter nodded with a smile and adjusted the volume. Emily looked at Daniel in surprise. She had expected discomfort, not thoughtfulness, for the first time that evening. The tight knot of anxiety in her chest began to loosen. Maybe this date wouldn't end the way she had feared. Maybe, just maybe, the night still had a chance to become something unexpected. The waiter returned with 2 glasses of water and quietly placed them on the table before walking away. Emily carefully adjusted Lily in her lap, making sure the little girl's head rested comfortably against her shoulder for a few moments. Silence settled between them, but it wasn't the awkward silence Emily had expected. Instead, it felt calm, almost comforting. Daniel smiled. "So tell me about yourself." Emily laughed softly. "Where do I even start?" "Anywhere you want." She hesitated before answering. "I'm a marketing coordinator for a nonprofit organization. Most of my days revolve around work. Daycare pickups, grocery shopping, and bedtime stories. And weekends if we're lucky. Lily and I visit the park. She thinks every squirrel wants to be her friend." Daniel laughed. "That sounds much more entertaining than my weekends." "What do you do?" "I'm an architect. I spend most of my time designing office buildings and arguing with contractors about details. Nobody else notices." Emily smiled. "That actually sounds interesting." Their conversation became easier with every passing minute. They talked about favorite books, childhood memories, embarrassing first jobs, and the best pizza in Chicago. Daniel never once looked annoyed that Lily was asleep beside them. Instead, whenever Emily paused to adjust the little girl, he simply waited patiently before continuing. Suddenly, Lily shifted in her sleep. Her tiny hand loosened around the stuffed bunny she had been hugging all evening. The toy slipped from her lap, bounced once against the chair, and landed softly on the cafe floor. "I've got it," Daniel said. He bent down, picked up the faded brown bunny, and brushed a little dust from one of its floppy ears. As he turned it over, something caught his attention. Tiny blue letters had been carefully embroidered inside one ear grace. Daniel's smile disappeared. He stared at the stitching as though he had seen a ghost. Emily noticed the sudden change in his expression. "Is everything okay?" she asked. Daniel didn't answer immediately. Instead, he gently traced the embroidered name with his thumb. "My sister," he finally whispered. Her name was Grace. Emily looked confused. Daniel swallowed hard before continuing. "She used to hand-make stuffed animals like this. Every bunny she made had her name stitched inside one ear. She believed every child deserved something made with love." Emily looked down at the toy in disbelief. "I had no idea," she said quietly. "I bought it at a charity sale almost 3 years ago. Lily wouldn't sleep without it after the first night. It's been her favorite ever since." Daniel nodded slowly, unable to take his eyes off the bunny. "My sister volunteered at children's charities before she passed away. She donated dozens of handmade toys every year." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The sounds of coffee cups clinking and quiet conversations filled the cafe around them. But everything at their table seemed strangely still. Daniel carefully handed the bunny back to Emily. "I never thought I'd see one of Grace's creations again," he said softly. Emily gently placed the bunny back into Lily's arms. The little girl smiled in her sleep and hugged it tightly without ever opening her eyes. Neither Emily nor Daniel could explain the coincidence, but both felt that the evening had quietly changed. What had begun as an ordinary blind date now carried the weight of an unexpected connection, one that neither of them had imagined. When they first walked through the cafe doors,